How you doing? Today we're going to talk about a few things that you can keep in the trunk of your vehicle in case of a winter emergency. So the goal here isn't to be ready for everything, but it's more so to be ready about accidents or emergencies that you can not really avoid, but you can make the best out of a bad situation. So these are things that'll get you back on the road faster without having to rely on anybody else, as well as keep you comfortable and alive, most importantly, if you do need to wait for help from somebody else. So winter time is much different than really any other time of year, particularly if you live in an area that gets super cold, icy, snow, things of that element. The rule of thumb for survival is 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Well, in the winter, if you're not warm, if you don't keep yourself warm enough, cold is going to kill you a lot faster than lack of food or water. So the first thing that I highly recommend keeping with you is winter coat, gloves, scarf, things like that. So normally, typically, you should be dressed for the weather. But sometimes things get cold. Some things are, you might be running to a nicer event where you might not have the warmest jacket, or down to the gym or the grocery store, and something might happen. Maybe you get stuck somewhere, and you just, you need that extra warmth. So I keep a small soft shell jacket, scarf. So obviously with your chest, neck, head, those areas are a lot more susceptible to cold. So you want to keep them covered, as well as a beanie or a hat. Face and head are very susceptible to cold weather, so you want to keep those protected. And a pair of nice thick wool socks. A lot of times, if you do have to go somewhere and you don't have winter boots on, if your shoes get wet, there's nothing more miserable, in my opinion, than cold, wet feet. So having a nice warm pair of socks is a great way to keep you protected, as well as just boost your morale overall. And then just a pair of gloves. These are good for both, keeping your hands warm, because you're dependent on your feet, hands, things like that. Your body is going to pull blood away from those areas to protect your core temperature first. So you're going to, in terms of hypothermia, your extremities are going to get a lot colder, and just potentially losing those fingers and things. Keep gloves, keep your hands warm, as well as protected if you have to change a tire, work on your vehicle. When your hands and stuff are cold, they get banged up a lot more easily if you're accidentally hit a piece of metal or something. So that's first and foremost, is warm clothing. Some other winter specific things. Honestly, I had drawn a blank on what these are called, but it's basically the little stretchy piece that goes onto the bottom of your feet, and they have these little spikes, and it just helps you avoid slipping on ice. Slipping and falling, that's something that even young, healthy people they can hurt themselves. You can fall, slip, hit your head. You can throw out a joint out of the socket, like shoulders, break wrists. There's just so much that can happen. So keeping your balance, keep staying up, even though you have to walk on ice, is huge benefit. Next thing is gonna be chapstick. Seems super simple, but winter things are cold. Your lips get chapped faster. They can crack, break, bleed, things like that. Not comfortable, so I always keep chapstick in the vehicle. Kitty litter, not just for cats. Seriously, you don't want to keep your cat in your vehicle. But kitty litter is great for traction. Similar to the shoes things for walking, kitty litter while you're, if you happen to slide off a vehicle, or if there's a slight incline, say you're trying to even leave your driveway, or another sort of slight incline, ice, snow, things like that, If your tires don't have good treads, or even if it's just ice in general, it slips and you can get stuck. So that kitty litter is going to give your tires some traction to grip onto and keep you going. So that is the winter specific stuff. There's a lot else in here that you can use and keeping your vehicle year round, again, to keep you safe and any accidents get you back on the road faster. So one of the things is a recovery kit. You know, winter is, it's a challenge in that it has conditions that all the other seasons don't have due to ice and snow. You can hit, you know, depending on where you're going, particularly back roads, side roads, roads that are less traveled or have a lot of coverage in terms of shade. The sun might not get to them, vehicles might not drive through and prevent ice from building up on the roads. So I live in an area with a lot of back roads, and I always have a recovery kit. So in the recovery kit, it has a tow strap. I keep in the pack just for organization, but this you can wrap around trees. It's soft. These soft loops do require, if you get something like this, you are gonna need these D-shackles or shackles. So you can loop those around and hook up to your other access point. I have a winch, you know, but in terms of hooking up, there's some vehicles that have in your back hitch, they have a little loop or something that you can hook this onto as well. So this is good. Chains, usually they say about 50 feet or so, I believe it is. And then I also keep these sandbags for recovery situations. So whether you have a winch, a rope, strap, whatever it is, that's under a lot of tension. You got to think about how heavy your vehicle is, and you're trying to, another vehicle or your winch or whatever it is, when that tension gets tight, there's a lot of tension on that rope. And if that snaps and there's nothing to buff it, to keep it from going, that's gonna whip somewhere and it can hit your vehicle. There's been cases where it shattered windshields. It can hit somebody else, knock them out, make them go unconscious, and hit you. So what I do with these is you can fill it with snow, dirt, sand, whatever it is, and you can lay it on top. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna prevent that, if something does snap, from whipping up and hitting something else. If you do have a winch or anything, I have a snatch block. I'm not gonna get into details of how to use one of those right now, maybe in a future video, but recovery kit, it's very important. Also, know where your recovery points are. A lot of vehicles, they have a certain point, usually in the back, possibly the front, where that's where you're gonna hook up. That's where it's usually directly somewhere on the frame, so you might have to get up and look underneath the bumper, but you know where that's at. If you don't have one, you should somewhere, but just know where you can hook up. Like I said, you can hit a patch of ice, slide off the road, visibility might be poor, and it might be a sharp turn, and you're going too fast around the curve, whatever it is, end up in a ditch and you need to get pulled out. Usually if you don't want to wait for a tow truck, or maybe tow trucks aren't driving, or someone else passes you and you need to get back on the road, whatever reason, know where your hookup point is. Another thing is spare fuel. This is a 1 gallon tank. It does have this crappy paint stuff on it, but just have an unused gas tank with you. That way, you don't want to keep a used gas tank in your vehicle, or a filled gas tank in your vehicle at that, because gas fumes can enter the vehicle cabin, and they're toxic to you. You don't want to breathe those in. But if you use the uncanned, that's like $10 or something like that. You go to any store, they usually carry those, and you figure 1 gallon, most vehicles will get anywhere from 16 to 60 miles nowadays. And so that should be, you know, if you need 2 of those, whatever it is, figure out your vehicle and Always be mindful of your fuel levels as well. Try never let your fuel level go below a quarter tank. Tarp. So this is another one, particularly in the winter, that's really good. If you do need to change your tire or get underneath your vehicle, you can lay it down on the snow and it'll keep you dry. You can also use it for, it's just regular blue tarp. It's like $5 or $10 or something like that. But you can use it to lay on. You can use it to build shelter if you need to leave the vehicle for some reason. If you need to pull somebody away from the vehicle for whatever reason, say they're injured, can't walk, unconscious. If you can't pull that person by the chest or whatever reason, you can set them on the tarp, pull the tarp, and drag them off there. But again, shelter, keeping you warm, or keeping you dry. And then in terms of keeping you warm, the other thing is a wool blanket. So this is just a standard wool blanket. Again, you can wrap it up, use it for warmth. Like I said, cold in the winter is going to kill you a lot faster than anything else. Particularly too, stay in your vehicle if possible, because people are going to see that first. But if you do have to abandon your vehicle, having that with you is going to keep you a lot warmer. Particularly which laying on the ground is going to suck that heat out of your body.